Hello and welcome to a much more traditional episode of News Trash here on the Geek Show, where we go over the past week's news and events from the video games world, which is a bit of a different status quo this week, but we will get a that in due course. I am Rob, and as ever I've been joined by Prob. Hello there.
Hello!
Yes, it's been E3, I mean you can't really have ignored it, which essentially swallows up all the news, so... We did release 2 videos. They're just going to stay videos because I was pondering about putting them on the podcast feed, but when you're constantly referring to things in a video, it seems kind of mean-spirited. So it's just going to stay as pure videos, those. So if you listen to this one on the podcast feed, head over to our YouTube where we've got 2 big old long videos on the events and then key trailers from E3. Key trailers is in ones which interest us, so there might be ones which you might think, why aren't they there?
Yeah,
if they're not there, it's because we're not interested.
Yeah, there's people are going to question why certain games aren't on our radar. Well, because we find them dull and boring.
Yeah, essentially. It's not about chasing the trends, it's about finding what you find interesting. I think that when you get to a certain age of being a gamer, that is basically everything.
Yeah, and we will be giving our thoughts about E3 as an actual event a bit later on in this episode, so stay tuned for that, because we do have thoughts and we do have opinions on that front. But before then, we've got some news to share with everybody.
It's amazing that some news snuck out.
Yeah, actually, there's 2 bits of Xbox news which are very, very surprising, and I kind of feel like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders because of these pieces of news. I kind of feel, that, what's that word? When you make a bold statement, but then everyone kind of says, no, that's never going to happen. And then it turns out that you were actually right all the time.
Yeah, I think you're focusing too much on other people's opinions, Rob. But go on.
Right. I said there's a very big possibility that Xbox, that Game Pass, could go down the route of Amazon, Netflix, that sort of thing. Everyone kind of went, don't think that's going to happen. Well, in the first piece of news, Microsoft have announced that they're working on an Xbox TV app and its own xCloud streaming stick, a la the Amazon Firestick.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're working with TV manufacturers to make an Xbox TV app available on devices very soon.
The problem with the TV app is some TV companies don't really update TVs, so it's really only targeting people who have like new TVs or high-tech bleeding tech TVs.
Exactly.
And the sort of market that this is targeting towards people who don't want to buy a console and want to save the money from buying a console, it's a Venn diagram of people with expensive TVs, people who want to save money by buying consoles. There's a very small sliver of people there who this is actually relevant for.
Yeah.
If you look at the big picture, you think, oh, it looks cool. But when you break it down into what it is and what it means, it's not as revolutionary as Rob may suggest.
Yes, but here's the thing. Neither was Netflix, and this is one of those areas...
That's a very, very different thing. Very different thing to Netflix.
Just bear with me a second. Netflix, yes, is a very different thing. I accept that. But it's one of those areas where we don't know how the market is going to react to this. We have no idea. It's never been done before. And right now, it might be a small market share, but it might be a market share that grows. It might be a market share that just stays the same. It might shrink. We don't know. All I'm saying is that... Yeah. All I'm saying is that that's
the streaming stick.
Yeah. Streaming stick
is a different thing altogether.
Yeah. Streaming stick, I think, is the big thing.
The TV app is basically targeting bleeding edge TVs, whereas every sort of relatively modern TV has a HDMI port. That's where you put the Fire Stick.
Yeah.
And if they can sort of crack the input lag, because it will be through streaming.
Yeah.
But there's a big if there, because input lag with streaming services has been basically the big issue completely.
The thing is, this all ties in at a time when Microsoft have done, they've made a big move in terms of their data centers. They've been transitioning to their Azure data centers on Xbox Series X hardware.
So in human terms.
For xCloud.
Their centre previously was all powered from Xbox One, and now they're going to be powering up those centres to be running off Xbox Series X's.
Yeah. And so the whole thing, the whole upshot of that is it's opened up a lot more possibilities in terms of xCloud streaming, in terms of Game Pass and stuff like that for them, in terms of bandwidth usage and all sorts of other technical things, which I'm not going to go into. But one of the side effects of that is that certain Xbox Series X games will soon be available on Xbox One via cloud streaming.
But before we get to that, there's the big elephant in the room here. This is only as good as the internet connections around the world.
Yes.
And a lot of places in the UK were really behind speed. A lot of places in America behind speed. Australia, basically, forget about Australia. They don't even get a look in.
Yeah.
So for certain areas, the streaming, like through a Fire Stick or a TV app or back or forward compatible, it all essentially hinges on internet connection speed and reliability. However, if you do have that internet connection speed and reliability, it's a bit of a game changer.
Oh yeah, I mean the fact that Amazon, I almost call them Amazon, and it is such an Amazon approach, isn't it? They've basically copied Amazon's playbook with this. I mean, the fact that they're putting Game Pass as an app onto TVs, and then you've got this onto new TVs, and then you've got this stick that goes alongside it. That's Amazon's approach right down to the wire. Because a lot of people rely on their Fire Sticks, their Amazon Fire Sticks, and I think if you take away the streaming side of things and you just look at devices that people want as an addition to their TV, the Fire Stick is almost at the top of the list, isn't it?
Yeah. This is kind of it's a crystallization of different philosophies between two companies.
Yeah.
On the one hand, Sony, forgetting the fact that they said generations matter and the backtracked and that's kind of a moot point.
Yeah.
They're very much a company based on old traditions, on this idea of having a box under the TV and you put discs into the box or you download things into the box, which basically it kind of hamstrings the industry and stops it really evolving.
Yeah.
Whereas Microsoft are very much interested in the evolution and forwarding of the industry. However, for me, it comes back to, like, the Xbox One was ahead of its industry by many, many years, and the community, the gaming industry went no.
Yeah.
My worry here is that Microsoft, in instilling all of these things, are too far ahead of the industry, and the community will go no again. So they're putting all the eggs in this future basket, and the present kind of goes, not interested, give it 5 years.
See,
and they've sank a lot of money into whatever they're plotting.
I have a different opinion to you on this. My brain automatically went back to, and I know this is going to be a slightly strange connection, but my brain went back to the Wii when I looked at everything that Microsoft was doing and how accessible they were trying to make games and how many devices they're actually making it available, making xCloud available on and Game Pass available on, making it available on Chrome-based browsers and stuff like that. All of that combined into one. I thought, okay, they're making games as a medium much more accessible to the general public. So it's not so much about what gamers want, it's what will the general public look at instead. There's a lesson to be learned from the Wii and how Nintendo marketed the Wii. And I think that Microsoft, if they've got their druthers about them, then they will look at the Wii and say, right, that's how we need to do it. We need to just basically say this is for everyone, not just for these people over here who are playing console-based games or PC-based games. Moving on to Cyberpunk. It's been a long time since we talked about Cyberpunk. It's actually coming back to the PlayStation Store.
Yeah. This is good for CD Projekt Red.
Yeah.
But I think, honestly, some people will want to buy it because they've been waiting for it and they've been anticipating it, even though they've openly said or openly hinted at not bothering with the base PlayStation 4 unit because it still can't do it.
Yeah.
That being said, I think a lot of people have been burnt and the interest is gone because of what happened.
Yeah.
It's too late.
Sony are warning that base edition PS4s will still have problems, and they recommend playing the game on PlayStation 4 Pro or PlayStation 5 instead. And they have said that the game just because it's available on the PlayStation 4 again, it doesn't mean that it's fixed for standard PlayStation 4 owners.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Which should mean then they should put something on the store, which means you can't buy it if your base unit is a PS4. They should stop that because,
the store
causing problems.
The store automatically recognizes which type of PlayStation you're on at that point, and which PlayStation is registered to your PlayStation Network account. So it should put a stop on you being able to buy it if you just got a bog standard PlayStation 4.
It should.
Yeah, it should, but it probably won't.
Nah, because money.
Yeah. Anyway.
Well, I mean, I'm interested in playing it one day, but when it's like cheap on a sale.
Yeah.
Like, I might pay 15 quid for it, but other than that, no.
Yeah. Speaking of companies that like money, all of the money, right?
You mean all companies then? All companies like money, Rob. What are you talking about?
But, I mean, there's one company above all others in video games that likes money.
No, there isn't. There's about 4 of them, and they're all sort of,
There's one above...
EA, Activision, Blizzard, Ubisoft. Take your pick.
There's one that's more notorious than the rest. And it is EA. Yeah, I know, Rockstar. I know Rockstar like all the money.
Your setup was bad, Rob.
Look, EA.
Go on,
right,
EA.
Okay, EA. Right, you know the whole palaver with loot boxes and stuff like that? And how EA kept trying to say, oh no, they're not gambling, it's surprise mechanics. Yeah? And they set so much store by the term surprise mechanics.
Surprise mechanics makes it sound like it's a strippogram who's a mechanic.
Yeah, but here's the thing, right? EA, I don't honestly know whether they've shot themselves in the foot with this or not.
Well, they're constantly doing it, so I'd say yes, they are.
Yeah, but EA have kind of gone against the whole idea of surprise mechanics. For a limited time event, they are allowing players to basically preview the cards that we'll be getting in these packs, which goes completely against the idea of surprise mechanics.
I think traditionally EA looked at loot boxes as sort of like sticker packs for like a Panini football book. Yeah. Even more meaningless. I mean, I'm coming as a guy who went like swap meets with those stickers, so, there's that. This is kind of pointless. This is pointless.
Yeah, I mean, if your whole shtick is surprise mechanics, why are you allowing people to preview what they're going to get in each pack?
It kind of makes the whole gameplay side of it meaningless, because if you don't get what you want, you just don't buy it. Yeah, and then you keep refreshing it until there's something you do want to buy.
Exactly. And this is what I mean by, I think they've shot themselves in the foot, because they've all but destroyed the balance of Ultimate Team then, haven't they?
Yeah.
If it had balance in the first place. This tweak to FIFA Ultimate Team loot boxes that they've launched for a limited time event is probably going to screw with Ultimate Team in a way that I don't think EA expect.
Well, they make billions of pounds off this thing.
Yeah.
I think they'll actually make more money off it because, people will only buy what they want.
Yeah.
And there's a guarantee there. Whereas, if it was anything like me, I'd say I buy one pack and I think, oh, that's rubbish. Buy a second pack, oh, that's rubbish. I'm not going to get any again. I'll just not going to bother. Whereas if you get your first pack and you have a good set of players, and you get your second pack and it's a good set of players, it makes you more inclined to spend because there's a bit more of a guarantee there. That might be the reasoning. I don't know, but
users are not going to have the option to preview a new pack until they either purchase the pack that they've previewed or until the refresher timer runs out, which is basically to a 24-hour cycle. So they have thought about that side of things a little bit, but even so, I still don't think this is going to work out the way that everyone expects, because they're going to look at the pack and go, I'll try it again tomorrow. If it's a better pack, I'll buy it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have any horse in this race. I just want things that hurt EA as a company. That sounds really mean-spirited and malicious, but frankly, the way they've treated the gaming community has been mean-spirited and malicious, so I think maybe it's time that karma got its own back on that company.
Yeah, that's weirdly enough, Rob, that kind of does open up the next story.
That's a weird bit of serendipitous segue.
No, it is a very weird segue, right? Now, you remember we did an impossible mission recently, and it was all about China.
Yes.
And how China is a sleeping titan of the gaming industry.
Your YouTube viewers, top right, there's a link to that video.
Well, Nico Partners are projecting that the Chinese console gaming market is going to grow in such a big way that by 2025 it will be approaching 2.5 billion.
That's pretty quick growth.
Yeah. Now, we already know there are half a billion gamers in China. We already know that. That's more than the population of America, as in the United States of America, are gamers in China.
Yeah.
And that is a staggering figure when you think about it. And the Chinese games market, it's been growing in a way that nobody has expected. They've been readapting things and now making their own things in a way that nobody expected. And I am waiting for China to get into sports games because they will dominate the Asian market, I reckon, when it comes to sports games.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's proof in the pudding as far as the way the Chinese industry works. It went from being a load of copy phones to being leader of the phone market. So there's like a history of Chinese industrialists within tech industries that shows that it's only a matter of time before the games produced will be considerable and very, very competitive for people.
In that episode we did, I made the analogy between what China have been doing with the copying and just martial arts in general. You start off by copying the basics of other people, and then you basically become, reach a certain level, then you start doing your own thing.
Yeah. But this is interesting. I think it's only a matter of time before China is a centerpiece of the video game, makeup.
I mean, Tencent is already one of the biggest video game companies in the world.
You just got to start acting like it.
Yeah. And I think when companies like Tencent start throwing their weight around on the global stage, companies like EA will have to...
Well, let's put it another way. Tencent are kind of like a squirrel. They've been hard and nuts for a while now.
I was wondering where this was going.
They've been hard and nuts for a while now. And, they just got to share the nuts with the rest of the pack of... I don't know what a collective of squirrels is called, so let's just call them a pack. It's a bad... It started off well, but it kind of fell to pieces, that analogy. But yeah, effectively, Tencent are hoarding a lot of nuts. Now they've just got to reap the benefit. That's a really bad analogy, but you get what I'm going for.
Mental image of the head of EA going to the head of Tencent, please can I have your nuts?
Yeah, like listeners and viewers, sometimes I forget how much of a man-child I do this show opposite, so sorry about that. Sorry.
That's it for your news for this week. There wasn't a lot because E3 was the thing that happened. And so now we're going to talk about that thing that happened. I want to say this before we get into this. I kind of expected how everything turned out. I think all of us did.
Yeah, apparently Jeff Keighley is doing Summer Games Fest because it's his... He tried to fix E3 from within, and I think he left in 2019, and he set up Summer Game Fest in 2020 to sort of muscle them out of the industry, muscle them out of that position. And I think the fact that Summer Game Fest closed with Elden Ring is a huge intent of the future of what that disruptive force as Summer Game Fest is going to have.
Yeah.
Because E3 was kind of pointless.
Yeah. There were things that came out from this E3 that didn't make for good reading for anyone who is kind of an industry observer. Rather than an industry insider or outsider or games fan in general, I think industry observers in particular were quite shocked at some of the things came out. ESA's stance on loot boxes, for example, was I'll be honest, I find it totally abhorrent, their stance on loot boxes.
Well, they were defending loot boxes, the ESA, the owners of E3, the runners of E3.
Yeah. And
just to give it a bit of context here, Microsoft were at E3 in the past, but they're bought the hall over the road, so they don't have to pay E3's prices. They can just sort of, do their own thing there, but still be part of E3.
Exactly.
So that kind of tells you a little of the headspace of what was happening with that event long before the pandemic.
And Sony didn't even turn up.
Yeah. But I think that kind of, I can understand why they were doing that, because as I said before, when we talk about E3, companies prefer to control the conversation rather than share it with other people. So instead of 100 announcements drown out 100 others, they can have the total focus and do it when they want to and control the narrative, so to speak.
Yeah.
However, that being said, without Sony, E3 felt incomplete.
Yeah, it did. It felt totally incomplete. Okay, there's something to be said for the, having everybody in a hall and then some surprise celebrity comes out, a la Keanu Reeves, saying, everybody's fantastic or whatever. I don't remember what the phrasing was. Oh, breathtaking, that was it. There's something to be said for all of that and the buzz you feel from the crowd and the energy from the crowd and all of that excitement. There's something to be said for that. But, right, we've been to EGX a few times, and EGX feels a bit like a trade show. And
it's not. It's a consumer show. You go and you try out the latest thing. A trade show is TGS. No, not TGS. That's us. The technology trade show. I can't remember the name of it.
Oh, you mean the consumer CES?
Yeah. That's a trade show.
But the thing is, EGX felt a bit like a trade show. E3 is a trade show.
Yeah, EGX, Eurogamer Expo for international listeners. It's basically PAX.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The layout of the fact that it's a consumer show, you can see it, but it has a little bit of the feeling of a trade show at times in certain areas. But E3 is most definitely a trade show. And that was what I think that's one of the big failures of E3 is the fact that ESA approached it as if it's a trade show, but it's something that is very, very much based on consumers. And so it should never have moved into that category of being a trade show.
It always was a trade show.
It should never have gone to that, though.
Yeah, let's be honest. I think the state of plays, the Xbox showcases, the directs are all well and good.
Yeah.
But this E3 really showed one thing. One, Capcom, Square, Take-Two, and I think somebody else have no business having their own show because effectively either they're waiting for something or they have a pre-arranged marketing agreement with either Sony or Microsoft, so Sony or Microsoft gets to unveil all the coolest things. Yeah. Effectively leading to stupid, pointless events like the one which Capcom had.
Just why are they talking about... okay, I know there's a market for competitive gaming, but competitive Street Fighter is, the market for that.
Yeah, I think the marketing arrangements for that are in Sony. The marketing arrangements for the new Final Fantasy or any Final Fantasy is with Sony.
Yeah.
There's other stuff which is tied up in Microsoft. So effectively those presentations are a waste of time. Utter waste of time.
Yeah.
The PC gaming show was an advert for Razer.
Yes, it was. The PC gaming show was totally an advert for Razer. I mean, they did have some interesting stuff on the PC gaming show, a lot more so than Square, Capcom, Take-Two, Gearbox.
Oh, yeah, sure. But it could have been like a half an hour longer, shorter. So
yeah. I can't remember. Was it... what was that one that was very much aimed at younger gamers, or was it the Wonderful?
Wholesome.
The Wholesome Direct?
Not really aimed at younger gamers, but it's more like relaxing games. But yeah sure.
I was surprised at how much of a presence they had. Yeah. And I'll be honest, I probably looked through a lot more of the games on the Wholesome game side than I did for just about anybody else except for Xbox and Nintendo.
Just to loop around to it, my point about E3.
Yeah.
I think there's a place for events like the old E3.
Yeah.
Because this year's E3 was essentially a YouTube playlist hosted by automatons with no feeling and no soul and no spirit. It's like they were made in a lab somewhere, and having them sort of say, these are the games that you should be excited about, be excited, is very off and alien. And just on that, there was no games to be excited about, so we really are seeing the events, the consequences of COVID this year's E3.
Yeah.
That being said, having a live crowd there, having developers show their passion, get excited, about what they're doing or being out of their depth and struggling to find something, to connect the audience with. It makes those previous events have some soul, have some life.
Yeah.
The reaction of the One More Thing is amazing.
Yeah.
This year's E3 was a YouTube playlist.
Yeah.
And it was boring. And I'd rather have nothing if that's the alternative.
Yeah.
Jeff Keighley tried. He gave some sort of presentation and showmanship, but he just tried.
Which one was it? The one where they're all on like a spaceship?
I think that was...
Was that the PC one?
Yeah, PC at Ubisoft.
It wasn't Ubisoft, because Ubisoft was a joke. Ubisoft was just another playlist, like you said.
The YouTube playlist, yeah.
Yeah, with the with all the fake excitement and stuff like that. And that was the thing. There was no atmosphere. There literally was zero hype, zero atmosphere, zero anything.
I'm not talking about the show floor. I'm talking about the events. The events thrived on atmosphere.
Yeah. And like I said, you need that buzz from the crowd. You need that excitement, that energy from the crowd, because that then you create kind of a feedback loop. People get more and more hyped up and they work themselves into a frenzy over whatever's coming next. I constantly think about the reaction of game trailers when basically Shenmue 3 was announced as a Kickstarter. And it was only announced as a Kickstarter, but they went nuts.
I said prior that this E3 was a sink or swim.
Yeah.
They sank.
Yeah, they sank hard.
I think Jeff Keighley is just going to up what Summer Game Fest is year on year on year. And honestly, I think next year it'll all but kill E3. Because I don't think the games on the show are very good.
Yeah.
But Summer Games Fest is made of multiple events. But the way he did it, the way he presented it, just outdid everything E3 could possibly do.
There is another aspect of this, though, which I think plays into what's happening. And this is an aspect that I think a lot of people probably aren't going to think about. And it's to do with the types of games.
Also, just to follow that.
Yeah.
I also said prior to E3 that none of them are going to show their Big Daddy games.
Yeah.
Because they've got their own events down the line.
Yeah.
And I've been proved right about that as well.
Oh, yeah, you were proved right about that. The types of games, which mainly thanks to indie games, but the types of games, the number of combat-free titles has risen since 2019. And this year, 33% of the games shown at E3 and Summer Games Fest were non-violent.
That's nice. That's a good change of industry. That comes from an industry becoming more
mature,
more mainstream, I think.
Yeah, more mainstream and more mature. But this then ties in with, weirdly enough, it ties in with what I was saying about Xbox Microsoft looking at the games market and making it more accessible to just general people. Because if a third of the market then becomes non-violent games, more people will be willing to play those games, won't they?
Yeah, because games have always had that stigma of being stupid, violent games, like teenagers who have like rage problems.
Exactly. And I think that is also a thing that plays into the excitement factor. It's easy to get excited about a game where there's blood and guts spilling all over the place, or people are swinging big swords, or there's explosions, and
Well, that's just short-sightedness on the way trailers are put together.
Yeah.
Also, speaking of, trailer of the whole event is Outer Worlds 2.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Nintendo Direct led the viewership of E3 with 3.1 million people at the peak of their Direct, which is interesting.
Which is probably during Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's interesting because Nintendo have been doing these video-based conference things for a while now. So, and when you look at the difference in quality between Nintendo's and literally everybody else's, there was a massive difference.
Yeah. I don't think at Microsoft was that good. I thought the back end was amazing. The first half was absolute trash.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Microsoft, all right, according to the official awards for E3, the Microsoft Bethesda presentation, was declared the best presentation by the official E3 awards. Now, I just want to remind everyone that Microsoft bought the hall over the road from E3.
Called it Microsoft Hall, I think, or Microsoft, something like that.
So they didn't have to be part of E3, but could run concurrently to E3. and they won the award for the best presentation.
It wasn't that good either. It wasn't that good.
That's the bit that makes me laugh the most. I just want to also point out the most anticipated game for the entirety of E3 was Forza Horizon 5.
Yeah, because honestly, there was nothing really else which...
Yeah, nothing stood out as much as that. That kind of stuck out like a sore thumb, saying, hey, look, this is what we could do.
The rest was like, if there's nothing else, I'll play it. That seems pretty cool. I'll give that a go. Nothing like, wow, my pants are on fire with excitement.
The most apparently the most anticipated per presentation from Capcom was the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, which, yeah, I'm not really a big fan of them anyway. From Gearbox was Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. The most anticipated indie game was Falling Frontier, which I didn't even remember being a thing.
I don't either.
So I'm curious. I'm going to have to Google that because I do not remember seeing that game.
I'll put gameplay of it here just for sort of continuity, but, sure. But yeah, that's it for us and E3 this year. We'll talk about other events that are coming. I think there's a EA one in July and rumours of a PlayStation 1 any week now.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about them when they happen, as well as other events down the line. I assume Warner Brothers will have one because we're strangely absent.
Yeah.
In literally every degree besides Back 4 Blood, which look good, but you've got loads of things in the bank.
I am curious about a face-off between Back 4 Blood and the new Evil Dead game as well.
We'll see. We'll see how that plays out. But anyway, yeah, if you've got anything to add about what we've said and any story or what we how we judged E3, very harshly, I admit. But if you've got anything to add to what we've said, please do comment below or fire us on social media. Fire away at us on social media. Firing us on social media is a different thing. It's kind of like being cancelled, isn't it? But a bit more official and with a letterhead.
See, this is the thing. I don't understand the whole cancellation thing. But I still exist as a person.
Time and place, Rob. Time and place. I'm outroing. Don't you get the old person doesn't understand the internet on me right now. But yeah, thanks very much for watching. We have a Patreon. There's some Patreons on screen now. Join them if you like what we do, because there's some exclusive content over on our Patreon site. But until next time, when it's hopefully a bit more of a traditional news trash with a bit more news happening. Thank you very much for watching and or listening.
Bye.